Chapter 22, Instinct, Intent, and Intelligence. The brain, thought, memory, mind, and consciousness are the greatest wonders in multicellular organisms. Psychology and neurobiology are subjects I studied as an amateur. In this chapter, I will present my views on what I have learned, experienced, and contemplated. It is speculative in nature, as I try to explain the complexities of the versatile and incremental nature of the mind. This chapter will examine how simple biological information gives rise to complex phenomena such as instincts, intents, and intelligence. At the heart of biological systems lies genetic information, which encodes the blueprint for life. This genetic information, stored in DNA, directs the development and functioning of every organism. It serves as the foundation for the intricate processes that lead to the emergence of behaviors and cognitive functions. One of the best realizations from Darwin's On the Origin of Species is the chapter on instincts. Instincts are automatic and robust characteristics that empower animals' existence. Therefore, we must discuss some of them. Although this field has a lot of jargon, I will stick to categorizing all the behavioral aspects into instincts, intents, and intelligence. Moreover, I think that cognition is a spectrum that starts with instincts and intents and moves to intelligence without clear boundaries. The difference between these three cognitive skills is the amount of time, processing, and information utilized to get an output. Living entities, particularly animals, possess two fundamental attributes: the physical ability to exist within varying circumstances and the will to act, often referred to as volition. These two dimensions are reflected in how organisms express their behaviors through instincts, intent, and intelligence. The relationship between these three elements is dynamic. Instinct provides a foundation of automatic behavior, while intent refines that behavior towards specific goals. Intelligence, in turn, enhances both instinct and intent, allowing for thoughtful decision-making and adaptive strategies. As organisms evolve, the balance between instinct, intent, and intelligence shapes their ability to survive and thrive in an ever-changing world. Emergence, from simple gene regulation to volition. Life on Earth evolved through the emergence of information, instincts, and intention, with genetics at the center of this process. The information encoded in DNA shapes an organism's phenotype by orchestrating gene expression. This diversity of life is created through variations in gene expression that contribute to the development of distinct traits and adaptations. Moving beyond the molecular level, instincts arise from interconnected cells that generate automatic behavioral responses. These innate, hardwired behaviors are refined through natural selection, increasing an organism's chances of survival and reproduction. But the evolutionary story takes a transformative leap with the introduction of intention. In organisms with higher neural complexity, intention emerges as a network of interconnected cells that enable conscious control over behavior. This evolutionary progression from information to instincts to intention represents a continuous increase in cognitive sophistication. At the core of this evolutionary journey is Richard Dawkins' selfish gene concept, which suggests that genes act in their own self-interest, striving for replication and perpetuation. To expand on this idea, I would like to introduce the concept of the selfish genome. No gene by itself can manifest a phenotype. It is almost always as a part of the genome that each gene gives rise to a phenotype. Some special genetic elements, such as transposons, restriction modification systems, and toxin-antitoxin systems, can manifest true selfism. Transposons have the ability to move from one part of the genome to another, and they have all the required genetic information to accomplish the jump. Other than these kinds, the genome as a whole embodies selfism, a propensity to exist and propagate. The selfish genome, driven by the imperative of survival and reproduction, not only influences the encoded genetic information, but also the emergence of instincts and intentional behaviors in more advanced organisms. It is the genomes that propagate, made up of genes that may or may not contribute to fitness. I was aware of animal behaviors in brood parasite birds, but that's about the most knowledge I had as a student. Of course, I had more misinformation about behaviors of animals, the vengefulness of snakes, divine animals, and talking organisms, all of God's wondrous creations as they are. Well, the information comes from stories and movies. A sweet and surprising revelation is from The Origin of Species. In fact, to me, the chapter on instincts was probably the most informative chapter of that book. The bees, slave-making insects, and the many inherent behaviors of the honeybees were amazing to know. How does that instinct come into existence? We are concerned only with the diversities of instinct and of the other mental qualities of animals within the same class. No complex instinct can possibly be produced through natural selection, except by the slow and gradual accumulation of numerous slight yet profitable variations. Darwin. Responding to stimuli and adaptation to the environment are usually passive and involuntary. They just happen as a means of gene regulation that all organisms have. However, in animals, volition with varying degrees of conscious thought has emerged. That spectrum of instinct, intent, and intelligence represents the varying degrees of how organisms interact with their environment, evolving progressively through the course of animal evolution. At one end of the spectrum lies instinct, which is characterized by automatic, innate behaviors that are largely pre-programmed by biology. These behaviors are triggered by environmental cues without conscious thought or learning and serve essential survival functions. For example, many animals exhibit instinctual behaviors like migration, mating rituals, and hunting, all of which are driven by evolutionary pressures to ensure survival and reproduction. Instinct is the oldest and most basic form of interaction, observed even in the simplest organisms, like insects or reptiles. As we move along the spectrum, we encounter intent, which represents a more sophisticated form of interaction. Intent involves conscious decision-making and goal-directed actions. It emerges in more complex organisms, particularly those with larger brains and more advanced neural systems, such as mammals. Intent requires an organism to evaluate its environment and form a plan or purpose to achieve a desired outcome. For example, a predator may plan its approach to hunt, or a bird may choose a mate based on specific traits. Intent shows a step forward from instinct, allowing for flexibility and adaptive responses, but it is still largely shaped by the organism's immediate needs and goals. At the far end of the spectrum is intelligence, which encompasses the ability to reason, solve problems, and adapt to novel situations. Intelligence involves a higher degree of cognitive processing, where organisms react to immediate environmental cues, learn from experiences, and apply reasoning to navigate challenges. Humans, with their advanced capacity for abstract thinking, language, and planning, represent the pinnacle of intelligence. Intelligence allows for a dynamic interaction with the environment, going beyond survival instincts or immediate goals to form complex strategies, innovate, and reflect. It seems that instincts have evolved to ensure survival, and deliberate intents arise from the internal conflicts among these instincts, which we shall elaborate on in the later sections. The interactions and conflicts between the intents of individuals foster the development of intelligence. Intelligence, it appears, is a natural and inevitable outcome, particularly in environments where individuals with overlapping goals, drives, and instincts coexist and depend on one another. In such settings, the limitations of resources and rewards are often claimed by those who can outthink and outmaneuver others, making intelligence an adaptive necessity. The nature of instinct. The Tailor bird as a case study. Instinct is a fascinating and fundamental aspect of animal behavior, representing innate, hardwired patterns of action that require no prior learning. These behaviors are genetically encoded and triggered by specific internal and external stimuli. They allow organisms to perform complex tasks essential for survival and reproduction, often with remarkable precision. A Tailor bird builds its nest by putting and sewing leaves together. Birds do not have the means of teaching the ways of building a nest, nor do they learn by modeling or playing. These birds just do it. Who taught them the mechanics and materials to build its nest? There is no external stimulus. When the birds reach a certain age, they just build the nest, the instinct to build a nest. At a particular stage in the Tailor bird's life, typically coinciding with sexual maturity and the onset of the breeding season, the bird begins constructing its nest. This timing is not arbitrary, but driven by internal physiological cues, primarily the surge in reproductive hormones. External factors, such as favorable weather conditions and resource availability, further modulate this behavior's initiation. The process begins with the selection of a nesting site, an instinctive choice influenced by factors that enhance the survival of the offspring. The bird instinctively seeks locations that offer protection from predators, such as dense foliage or thorny bushes. These sites provide natural camouflage, reducing the likelihood of detection. Stability is another critical factor. Branches capable of supporting the nest's weight and locations shielded from adverse weather conditions are preferred. The proximity of resources such as leaves and fibers also plays a role, as it minimizes energy expenditure during construction. While the bird does not consciously evaluate these factors, evolutionary pressures have encoded these preferences into its genetic blueprint. Once a suitable site is identified, the bird begins its construction. It selects specific types of leaves, choosing flexible and durable ones. Using its sharp beak, the bird instinctively pierces holes along the edges of the leaves. This intricate process demonstrates an innate understanding of mechanics, though the bird lacks conscious awareness of its actions. The bird then gathers sewing materials, such as plant fibers or cobwebs, and instinctively threads them through the holes it has created. It pulls and knots the fibers with remarkable precision, binding the leaves together into a cohesive structure. The nest's construction involves multiple instinct behaviors, each seamlessly leading into the next. After sewing the leaves, the bird shapes the structure into a secure cup-like form suitable for holding its eggs. It inspects the nest, reinforcing weak points and ensuring its durability. This process showcases a fixed sequence of actions, characteristic of instinctive behaviors known as fixed action patterns. Instincts are innate, hardwired behaviors enabling animals to respond effectively to specific stimuli without prior learning, ensuring survival, reproduction, and ecological balance. These behaviors include migratory birds navigating vast distances, salmon returning to spawn, and predators coordinating hunts. Prey exhibits instincts like camouflage and rapid flight to evade threats. Social insects, such as bees and ants, display instincts for cooperation and division of labor, maintaining highly organized colonies. While instincts are genetically programmed, environmental factors may modulate them slightly. Automatic behaviors, including innate behaviors, instincts, and fixed action patterns, FAPs, share fundamental attributes rooted in their genetic basis and automatic execution. These behaviors are not learned. Hardwired responses are exhibited without prior experience or training. They are species-specific traits shaped by natural selection to ensure survival and reproduction, offering consistent, predictable responses to environmental challenges. For instance, they aid in finding food, avoiding predators, or mating. Such behaviors occur in response to specific stimuli, enhancing adaptability without requiring conscious thought or learned skills. Molecular and cellular basis of instinct. The molecular and cellular basis of instinct is intricately embedded in the nervous system, where genetic, neural, and hormonal factors converge to orchestrate behaviors essential for survival and reproduction. At the molecular level, neural circuits are formed during development under the guidance of specific genes. For example, migratory instincts in birds are influenced by the expression of genes related to the hippocampus and neurotransmitter receptors, which contribute to the formation of neural circuits responsible for navigation using celestial cues. Neural circuitry is central to transforming genetic information into instinctual behavior. Brain regions like the amygdala and hypothalamus house these circuits as command centers for instinctive responses. For example, the release of oxytocin, a neuropeptide, within these regions facilitates maternal bonding and care. The molecular events involving oxytocin receptors are vital for initiating maternal instincts. Similarly, neurotransmitters like serotonin influence behaviors such as feeding and mating, where serotonin binds to receptors, triggering a cascade of events that regulate these instinctual responses. Genetic factors are essential in shaping instinct, encoding proteins critical for neuronal function as an emergent phenomenon. For instance, the silk spinning behavior of spiders is governed by genes for silk production, leading to inherited instinctual behaviors that are refined through natural selection. Hormones also modulate instinctual behaviors, as seen in the fight or flight response, where adrenaline triggers rapid physiological changes. Additionally, cellular plasticity enables the adaptation of neural circuits, such as imprinting, where synaptic plasticity helps form strong bonds with caregivers, influencing social behaviors. Genes are essential but insufficient to manifest an instinct or any phenotype for that matter. Genes form the foundational stratum in hierarchical emergence, while instincts are higher strata. The evolution of diverse instincts in various organisms is challenging to explain. However, I suspect that the regulation of the implicated genes plays a significant role. Numerous genetic and regulatory elements could be involved, including genes, regulatory sequences, epigenetic modulators, and others. Which comes first, variation or instinct? I believe variation arises first, and instincts manifest subsequently. All phenotypes originate from genetic or epigenetic mechanisms and are grounded in a physical basis. This basis lies in the structure of subcellular components, cells, cell interactions, networks, and organs. Behaviors, for instance, result from interactions within neuronal networks, and instincts arise from neural circuits, enabling specific actions in response to internal or external stimuli. Identifying the genetic basis of an instinct, an emergent phenomenon, is challenging because each instinct involves three key components: the stimulus, the processing mechanism, and the output. Stimuli can be external, such as threats, or internal, such as signaling molecules. The underlying drive typically relates to survival or reproduction, encompassing food, flight, fight, or mating. The output of an instinct is often straightforward: respond in a way that ensures survival. There is a genetic basis because we could breed dogs based on instincts. Multiple genes are responsible for each instinct, of which each is essential but insufficient to manifest that instinct. In the hierarchical emergence of instincts, several factors are critical: the quantities and qualities of the components, the interaction network, and the type and degree of interactions between the components. At the same time, it is difficult to fully comprehend or predict the outcomes, particularly in biological systems, because the components, organisms as a whole, are exceedingly complex. No amount of understanding can ever steal the wonder in the diversity of insects and their instincts. Argyroneta aquatica, the diving bell spider, creates an underwater habitat by spinning a web between vegetation or rocks near the water's surface. The spider uses this web as a diving bell, trapping air bubbles to create an air pocket. The spider replenishes the air supply in its diving bell by periodically returning to the surface to collect more air. This ingenious adaptation allows the diving bell spider to survive and hunt for prey underwater. It is too incredible to be true unless by intelligent hands that put it intelligently. But let's not give in. This fantastic behavior is a series of instincts put in a particular sequence, timing, and tempo. Instincts in dogs, cats, and humans. Dogs have been selectively bred for thousands of years to enhance specific instincts, creating diverse breeds suited for varied roles such as hunting, guarding, herding, and companionship. This selective breeding refines natural instincts to align with human needs, often amplifying traits like aggression, loyalty, alertness, or gentleness. For example, herding breeds like border collies are selected for their instinct to control the movement of livestock, while guard dogs, such as Rottweilers, are bred for protective aggression and vigilance. On the other hand, lap dogs like Chihuahuas are often bred for companionship, but retain surprising aggression, a reflection of their territorial instincts. Despite their diminutive size, Chihuahuas assert dominance through bold postures and loud barking. Many dogs enjoy playing fetch due to a blend of instincts, learned behavior, and human influence. Descended from wolves, dogs retain strong predatory instincts, such as chasing and retrieving. Breeds like Labradors are specifically bred for retrieving. Fetch taps into their prey drive, and positive reinforcement encourages this playful behavior. The relationship between cats and dogs highlights intriguing behavioral. I watch too many dog and cat videos. Domesticated cats, though smaller, sometimes display dominance over even large domesticated dogs, leveraging their agility, sharp reflexes, and confident demeanor. A cat's sudden movements or direct stare can intimidate a domesticated dog, triggering submissive behaviors. Generally social and hierarchically inclined, dogs may instinctively avoid conflict with a cat, asserting dominance. This unique interplay between the species underscores the complexity of instincts shaped by evolution and domestication, showcasing their adaptability to varied interactions. Basically, we just messed with the instincts of some wild animals to derive these domesticated animals with diverse instincts or behaviors. Human instincts exhibit significant variation influenced by genetics, upbringing, culture, and environment. Survival instincts, such as self-preservation and hunger, are universal but manifest differently. For example, individuals in resource-rich regions may focus on dietary choices, while those in scarcity prioritize acquisition. Social instincts like conformity and grouping vary. Some thrive in collectivist settings, while others favor individualism. Instincts for dominance and leadership are prominent in some, driving ambition, while others lean toward harmony and cooperation. Humans are torn between the drives of biological instincts and the constraints of culture and religion. Though rooted in biology, human instincts are significantly influenced by intellect, culture, and societal norms. Unlike animals, humans often suppress primal instincts like dominance or aggression due to cultural and religious expectations. While universal, instincts for survival and reproduction are modulated by intellectual decisions such as delaying parenthood or adopting ethical diets. Instincts for dominance and individualism may clash with cultural values promoting humility and cooperation. Similarly, while instincts drive innovation and exploration, societal structures often dictate acceptable boundaries. This tension between innate drives and external constraints creates a unique human dynamic, shaping diverse behaviors across individuals and societies. We are all just pretending our life most of the days. If it hadn't been for this pretending, our society would not have been as large and peaceful. Instincts for empathy. I weep at the sight of an emotional outbreak. It is not just about tears rolling down. It is the sniffly weeping, the gradual buildup with spurts of emotion. There must be a context I understand, a suffering that I can feel, a pain and pine that resonate deeply. I need to know the person or the situation well enough to immerse myself in their sorrow. I find myself there with them, seeing the sniffles, the trembling chin, the welling tears, and reflecting the weight of their emotional release. I cry and I weep, not just silently, but with sniffles that betray the depth of my empathy. I wish I did not have this trait. It keeps me from watching emotional movies in theaters or even attempting films I know will overwhelm me. It is not my loss, yet I cry as if it were. But not everyone is like this. I wish I were like other men, staunch and stoic, standing tall and pushing through, getting things done instead of succumbing to weeping along. I envy that strength and resilience, which seems so far removed from my vulnerability. Why are some people hypersensitive and more empathetic? I know that my father had this too. Often this behavior is construed as dramatism. But I know some other men who do cry too. Are they half a man? I am of the opinion that there is a hardwire to sense the pain without being harmed. These could be circuits in the brain that make a mind that is sensitive to others' emotions. The heightened emotional empathy described can be understood through instinctual bases. Instinctively, this behavior has evolutionary roots in fostering social cohesion and survival. Early humans depended on group cooperation for protection and resource sharing, and empathy became an adaptive trait that reinforced caregiving and mutual support. Emotional resonance, driven by instinct, helps strengthen group bonds, ensuring survival during crises. These genetic, neurological, and instinctual factors highlight how heightened empathy supports social connection and reflects an evolutionary strategy for collective survival and cooperation. The sad part is that the happiness of others does not resonate with me. Only the sad feelings do. Empathy tends to be more attuned to pain and suffering than happiness and joy. The human mind is paradoxical. Another's happiness stirs jealousy, yet their sorrow evokes sadness. Evolution has sculpted us this way. Envy fuels competition, ensuring we do not fall behind. Empathy for loss binds us, preserving social cohesion. This asymmetry likely arises from evolutionary and neurological priorities that favor survival. Detecting and responding to pain or distress in others has been crucial for group survival, as it prompts caregiving, support, and collaborative action to mitigate risks. Standing together when the chips are down is important for survival. Only in suffering can we stand together as the strongest. That is how wars are won, and the resilience of the human species endures. Intents in group dynamics. Instincts and intent are fundamental to animal behavior, yet they differ in how they manifest and influence actions within group dynamics. Instinct refers to an automatic, innate response to specific stimuli, often driven by survival or reproduction. These behaviors are hardwired and do not require conscious thought. For instance, a predator's instinct to chase prey or a bird's migration based on environmental cues are automatic reactions to stimuli essential for the species' survival. On the other hand, intent involves a more deliberate, goal-oriented behavior. It is shaped by cognitive processes, experiences, and social contexts, enabling animals to choose whether or not to act based on the situation. While instincts are reflexive and predictable, intent reflects a level of decision-making, flexibility, and situational assessment. When an organism faces competing instincts, such as the desire to survive or excel, to dominate or submit, or to fight or flee, it must navigate these internal struggles. These primal instincts alone are insufficient to ensure adaptive behavior in complex environments. Instead, conscious decision-making, intent, emerges as a mechanism to resolve these conflicts. Intent represents a deliberate choice of action guided by the weighing of competing drives. This conscious resolution, a form of higher cognition, allows for more refined and strategic behavior, fostering intelligence. In group living, the emergence of intent is critical for complex social behaviors. Behaviors such as territorial defense or conflict resolution also illustrate intent in group dynamics. For example, animals like wolves or primates decide when to engage in conflict or defend territory, considering factors like strength, resources, and social alliances. These decisions are not reflexive, but intentional actions to maintain social order or secure resources. When two lions meet, there is often a display of dominance. While their instincts drive them to fight for territory or mating rights, a lion may choose not to engage in battle if the opponent is stronger or the risk of injury outweigh the benefits, making a conscious decision to retreat rather than face conflict. An elephant may feel the urge to remain within the safety of the herd, as instinct dictates. However, during times of extreme drought, an elephant might deliberately choose to leave the herd to search for water sources, despite the risk of predators or becoming isolated. Intelligence. Intelligence is the successful exploration of uncertainty. We discussed intelligence in the opening chapters in a different context. Here, I shall discuss briefly the emergence of human intelligence. Knowledge and intelligence are interdependent, each fueling the growth of the other. Knowledge, the accumulation of facts, experiences, and information, requires intelligence to expand and adapt effectively. Intelligence is particularly valuable in navigating uncertainty. By leveraging knowledge, intelligence can assess situations, anticipate outcomes, and make informed decisions. This ability to explore ambiguity is what distinguishes human cognition from other forms. As intelligence utilizes knowledge to solve problems and overcome challenges, it enhances and expands that knowledge, creating a continuous improvement cycle. Knowledge and intelligence evolve together in this reciprocal relationship, driving intellectual and personal growth. Intelligence in humans is so extraordinary that we wiped out our nearest evolutionary cousins and rule the world. Several key factors shape the evolution of human intelligence, each contributing to the intricate cognitive framework that distinguishes us from other species. A foundational element is enhanced memory and recall, which allows individuals to store, retrieve, and apply information efficiently, facilitating learning and adaptation. Intelligence represents the highest level of cognitive processing in response to stimuli, whether internal, such as emotions or thoughts, external, environmental cues, or perceived, sensory inputs. Unlike basic instinctual reactions, which are immediate and automatic, intelligence involves a more complex and deliberative process. To respond intelligently, an individual must first account for past experiences, integrating knowledge gained from prior interactions or observations. This reflection allows the individual to form a more informed response based on context, which includes the timing of the stimulus and the specific circumstances surrounding it. Moreover, intelligent responses require an understanding of constraints, such as physical, social, or moral limits, and an awareness of the potential consequences of actions. This involves considering both the short and long-term effects, weighing trade-offs, and evaluating outcomes before making a decision. These processes necessitate both qualitative descriptions, such as assessing emotions, values, or subjective experiences, and quantitative ones, such as how far, how long, time, how many, and almost all measurables. The limits of my language mean the limits of my world. Ludwig Wittgenstein. Language in humans is inextricably intertwined with human intelligence because our civilization, culture, and even existence are influenced by informational transactions with our peers. Most of the information that our lives are entwined with is secondhand information, which forms our knowledge base. Often, language or informational transactions are more than immediate needs. They are stories of the past, predictions, precautions, and plans of diverse people that stretch each moment, making it relevant to an entire lifetime. We perceive information, process, and also deliver information as an output. This is why having a robust vocabulary and units becomes essential. Vocabulary allows for the precise articulation of concepts, emotions, and experiences, while units provide a standardized way to measure and compare variables. Together, they enable clearer communication, deeper analysis, and more accurate predictions, all of which are integral to intelligent decision-making and problem-solving. Complexity and clarity of thinking require vocabulary to describe and units to count. From then on, the levels of thinking are pertinent to the logic from which intelligence emerges. Hence, language and mathematics are fundamental to human intelligence, distinguishing our species from all other extant life forms. Language possesses the remarkable ability to describe events, objects, interactions, and their consequences. It empowers humans to communicate across time, bridging past experiences, addressing present concerns, and envisioning future possibilities. This capacity to articulate abstract thoughts and share complex ideas has been pivotal in shaping culture and civilization. Mathematics, equally indispensable, provides the tools to quantify, measure, and interpret the world around us. It allows humans to structure reality in ways that foster profound understanding and drive technological progress. Mathematics enables the precise description of the natural world, spanning the past, present, and future, in quantifiable terms. Together, language and mathematics form the foundation for human creativity, innovation, and the evolution of knowledge. The dramatic exponential increase in intelligence comes from cooperation, competition, or conflicts with other individuals. Cooperation with other intelligent entities, humans, animals, and devices such as machines and computers further enhances intelligence. Through collaboration, knowledge is exchanged, refined, and built upon, leading to collective advancements. Human intelligence flourishes in social contexts where sharing ideas and expertise accelerates innovation. Competition for resources or recognition at the intellectual level also sharpens intelligence over time. Such competition may take the form of games or tactical decisions, often motivated by a prize, resource, dominance, or personal gratification. Nevertheless, the competition provides an arena for interactions involving learning and testing for both participants and observers. Conflict, manifested as debates or even wars, has historically been a significant catalyst for intellectual evolution. Engaging with differing viewpoints compels refinement, promotes critical thinking, and leads to the iteration of ideas, driving advancements across various domains of human endeavor. Together, cooperation, competition, and conflict form the backbone of human intellectual growth, propelling continuous development. The drive for human intelligence. Human intelligence is one of the defining attributes of our species, setting us apart from other animals by enabling us to innovate, communicate complex ideas, and envision abstract concepts. The development of intelligence, however, is rooted in both biological and environmental factors that provide a foundation for its growth. Several aspects contribute to the evolution and manifestation of human intelligence, such as the creation of surplus time for reflection, competition within social structures, advanced communication capabilities, and our physical dexterity. 1. Surplus time, the foundation of cognitive growth. Intelligence requires more than instinctual responses. It demands reflection, experimentation, and contemplation. Such cognitive processes, however, can only take place when there is surplus time, moments when basic survival needs are already met, providing the mind the freedom to explore beyond immediate concerns. Surplus time allows individuals to engage in activities not directly tied to survival, such as problem solving, theorizing, and creative thinking. The concept of surplus implies that all primary needs, including security, food, and shelter, are satisfied. When humans have moments without the pressures of survival, they have the opportunity to examine their environment, analyze patterns, and hypothesize outcomes. This surplus of time was pivotal in enabling early humans to engage in activities that spurred the growth of intelligence. In societies where food was abundant and danger minimized, early humans could focus on tool-making, storytelling, social organization, and, eventually, the development of language and culture. 2. Social competition and cooperation. The drive for intelligence. Another significant factor in the evolution of human intelligence is competition within and among groups. Unlike interactions with other species, where survival largely depended on physical strength or basic strategic thinking, dealing with other humans introduced a unique challenge. Competing and cooperating with intelligent beings created a feedback loop where individuals and groups had to continuously develop more sophisticated strategies to succeed. This social dynamic led to an exponential increase in knowledge as individuals constantly adapted to the intelligence displayed by others in their environment. This interplay of competition and cooperation amplified the need for cognitive flexibility and innovation. For instance, if one group developed a more effective hunting tool, neighboring groups would either adopt or improve upon it. Over generations, these adaptive pressures led to an accumulation of knowledge and the evolution of more complex cognitive skills. This social competition encouraged mental agility and fostered an environment where intelligence became a prized attribute, gradually enhancing humans' capacity for problem solving, planning, and innovation. 3. Communication. Beyond the immediate, expanding intelligence across time and space. Humans possess the unique ability to communicate not just about the present, but about the past, future, and hypothetical scenarios. This capacity to transcend the here and now in communication allowed for the accumulation and transmission of knowledge across generations, something animals are largely unable to accomplish. Through language and storytelling, humans could share their experiences, teach survival strategies, and impart cultural wisdom to others. This ability to communicate experiences, including hypothetical or abstract ideas, provided a vast repository of knowledge from which successive generations could draw. Animals communicate primarily about immediate needs, such as signaling danger or coordinating within a pack. Human language, however, allows us to discuss abstract concepts and refine ideas through dialogue. In discussing past events and future plans, humans could simulate scenarios and mentally test them without real-world consequences. This process of sharing, discussing, and refining ideas increases their accuracy and applicability, thereby enhancing the likelihood of success in future endeavors. Language thus serves as an essential tool not just for conveying information, but for collectively evolving and enhancing intelligence. 4. Physical dexterity. The role of hands in cognitive development. A fundamental, often overlooked aspect of human intelligence is our physical ability to manipulate objects with precision. The rationale is that the more objects to play with, the more one needs to think, which could eventually drive intelligence. The smaller the objects that could be handled, the more objects to play with and the more focus needed. The agility of our fingers, particularly with the opposable thumb, allows us to create and utilize fine tools, which has been pivotal in the development of technology and advanced problem solving. The human hand, with independently agile fingers, provides a level of dexterity unique among species, enabling humans to perform delicate tasks that require precision and control. It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable. Socrates. The connection between physical dexterity and intelligence can be observed across species. Birds exhibit intelligence through their fine beaks and agile claws, which serve as precise tools for gathering food, building nests, and solving problems. At the foundational level, manifesting intelligence requires gripping and manipulating objects. Similarly, the trunks of elephants contribute to the expression of intelligence. Primates, for instance, show higher levels of problem-solving abilities than other animals, due in part to their agile arms. These physical structures enable animals to manipulate their environment creatively, demonstrating cognitive flexibility and a capacity for innovative behaviors crucial for survival in diverse habitats. Humans, with even more refined manual skills, have taken this advantage further. This capability to manipulate small objects allowed early humans to craft complex tools such as spears, traps, and later, written scripts. By engaging in these activities, humans not only exercised problem-solving skills, but also developed an iterative approach to learning, where tools and techniques were constantly refined and improved. This hands-on interaction with the environment thus laid a foundation for the cognitive expansion that characterizes human intelligence. Number 5, the brain, the central processor of perception and action. Although factors like surplus time, social dynamics, communication, and physical dexterity are essential to intelligence, the human brain remains the central processor coordinating these elements. The brain is responsible for perceiving sensory input, analyzing it, and producing responses that align with survival and personal goals. Intelligence is a complex, iterative process that relies on constant feedback and adjustment, all managed by the brain. It synthesizes sensory information, integrates memories, and enables individuals to simulate scenarios, thereby predicting potential outcomes and adjusting behavior accordingly. The brain's adaptive capacity enables humans to learn from experiences, retain and process information, and apply this knowledge to novel situations. However, while the brain is essential, it does not operate in isolation. The tools humans use to sense and communicate, such as language, hands, and social structures, play a fundamental role in shaping intelligence. Without these channels of interaction, intelligence would remain dormant, as the brain relies on the constant input and output of information to evolve and expand its capabilities. 6. Education. Intelligence, as an application of knowledge, is dependent on the breadth and depth of knowledge. Humans are champions of knowledge. No other animal has as much knowledge. Humans uniquely invest 14 to 30 years in education, acquiring vast knowledge and honing skills that may not have immediate utility but prove invaluable over time. Unlike other species, humans possess the capacity and societal structure to prioritize prolonged learning. Education equips individuals with a reservoir of knowledge and diverse abilities, empowering them to adapt, innovate, and solve problems as opportunities arise. In contrast, animals transmit knowledge limited to one generation and rely primarily on self-experience and trial and error. Offspring learn through direct engagement with their environment without formal guidance. Humans, however, can learn a wide array of concepts before engaging in real-world tasks. This extensive preparation is unmatched in the animal kingdom and forms the cornerstone of human progress. While opinions may differ, the transformative potential of education underscores its essential role in shaping individuals and advancing society. Education trains the mind to focus, think deeply, and think complexly. All these three are foundational traits to excel in any field. Redefine man, redefine tool, or accept the chimpanzees as humans. Louis Leakey. Louis Leakey's thought-provoking statement challenges us to reconsider our definitions of what it means to be human and how we perceive tools in the context of chimpanzees. By redefining man, Leakey encourages us to broaden our understanding beyond traditional definitions based solely on biological characteristics. Instead, he suggests considering aspects such as cognitive abilities, social complexities, and tool usage as defining factors of humanity. For instance, chimpanzees exhibit remarkable intelligence, problem-solving skills, and the ability to use tools such as sticks to extract termites from mounds or rocks to crack nuts. These behaviors highlight the cognitive and adaptive capacities shared between humans and chimpanzees, prompting us to question where we draw the line between human and non-human. In essence, the seeds for what we now call human intelligence were sowed long ago in the evolutionary journey of vertebrates, being refined and blossomed in the human species. Instincts for existence versus excellence. Animals, humans included, exhibit a fascinating array of instincts that drive their behaviors, ensuring both survival and excellence within their ecosystems. Instincts for existence focus on fundamental needs such as food, safety, reproduction, and survival, while instincts for excellence emphasize traits like dominance within peers. These innate behaviors, honed through evolutionary pressures, vary across species and reflect their ecological roles and adaptive strategies. Those individuals who exhibit better instincts and manifest instincts strongly are likely to outcompete their peers, prolonging the legacy of the instincts. Instincts for existence. Instincts for existence are behaviors that enhance an organism's survival and well-being. For example, young chimpanzees exhibit instincts for imitation by mimicking adult tool use behaviors, such as using sticks to extract termites. Gazelles instinctively flee from predators to avoid harm, while lions and elephants seek food and water to quench their hunger and thirst. Sea turtles instinctively head toward the ocean after hatching to escape land-based predators. Bears store fat to prepare for hibernation, and birds like pigeons fly away at the first sign of danger. Fish exhibit conformity by swimming in schools to confuse predators. Wolves defend their territories to protect group identity, while emperor penguins demonstrate parental care by keeping their eggs warm in harsh conditions. Birds instinctively build nests to ensure the safety of their young. These instinctual behaviors are essential for survival, ensuring that organisms respond effectively to environmental challenges. Instincts for excellence. Dealing with prey is clear. Just plan, prepare, and hunt. Dealing with predators is straightforward. Evade and avoid the predator. Dealing with competitors, same species, is the tough part. Especially in species that live in interacting groups, one individual cannot live without the group, but has to compete with the members of the group. That is a tricky proposition of playing selfish games to be benefited without losing the group or life. Instincts for excellence require mastering the balance between cooperation and competition. Meerkats thrive in colonies, but dominance dictates breeding rights. Subordinates must navigate obedience while seeking opportunities to rise. In a wolf pack, survival depends on loyalty and hierarchy. A wolf must assert itself without provoking fatal conflicts. Chimpanzees living in social troops form alliances to gain status, but betrayal and power shifts are constant. Success demands calculated moves. Push too hard and face exile. Hold back too much and remain insignificant. True excellence is knowing when to compete, when to cooperate, and how to stay indispensable without being eliminated. The clash and convergence of cognition instincts, deeply embedded in our biological framework, manifest in diverse ways, ranging from basic survival drives to complex expressions of identity and excellence. These instincts often conflict and converge, shaping behaviors that balance immediate needs and long-term goals. The instinct for imitation, especially prominent in childhood, facilitates learning and social bonding by enabling the transfer of knowledge and cultural practices. Similarly, instincts for avoiding pain, both physical and mental, ensure well-being by shaping adaptive responses that prevent harm. For example, withdrawing a hand from a hot surface exemplifies this survival mechanism. Basic survival is also governed by instincts such as hunger and thirst, which compel individuals to seek essential nutrients and fluids. However, these instincts can conflict with others. For instance, the desire to quench hunger may clash with the need to avoid physical harm, as seen when predators risk injury to capture prey. The Japanese pufferfish, Torquegenna albomaculosus, demonstrates an extraordinary interplay of instincts in its courtship rituals. The male's instinct to create an intricate nest on the seafloor manifests as an innate drive to sculpt circular patterns with remarkable symmetry. This instinct is not a learned behavior, but a deeply ingrained urge to attract a mate. On the other side, the female's instinct draws her toward these patterns, signaling the presence of a suitable mate. The male's instinct to build meets the female's instinct to seek, forming a synchronized dance of nature. The union of these instincts ensures reproductive success and continuity of the species. The dual nature of social instincts highlights this complexity further. Grouping for survival fosters cooperation and protection, while grouping for excellence drives competition and hierarchy. For example, social hierarchies in animal groups reflect instincts for dominance, which secure access to resources. At the same time, instincts for conformity promote cohesion within groups, whereas instincts for difference encourage individuality and innovation. This paradox is evident in multicultural societies. The instinct to mother and the instinct to be mothered converge in a profound biological and emotional harmony. The caregiver's innate drive to nurture meets the dependent's instinctive need for protection and care, fostering survival, growth, and emotional bonds. This interplay forms the foundation of enduring connections and generational continuity. In some bird species, the maternal instinct to protect offspring often clashes with the instinct of brood reduction, creating a conflict between care and elimination. This arises in species like egrets and black eagles, where food scarcity forces tough choices. While the mother's instinct drives her to nurture and safeguard her young, brood reduction, a mechanism of survival, compels her to favor stronger chicks by allowing weaker ones to perish. This instinct ensures limited resources are directed to those with the highest survival potential. Sibling rivalry, such as siblicide in black eagles, exemplifies this conflict, as the stronger chick may eliminate the weaker under the mother's oversight. Such behaviors highlight the evolutionary balance between care for the brood and ensuring long-term reproductive success. Reproductive instincts reflect the pursuit of excellence, ensuring genetic continuity and evolutionary success. Elaborate mating rituals in animals and human mate selection behaviors exemplify this drive. Similarly, the instinct for flight, rooted in survival, enables escape from immediate threats, while the instinct for identity ties individuals to familial, cultural, or social groups, ensuring collective survival and belonging. Conflicting instincts are a hallmark of human and animal behavior. Pain avoidance can conflict with dominance, as seen when individuals endure discomfort to assert authority within social hierarchies. Similarly, the desire for conformity can clash with the instinct to deviate, as individuals balance adhering to norms with exploring new possibilities for growth and success. In the natural world, decision-making often requires reconciling conflicting instincts. For instance, animals must balance the need to avoid danger with the urge to hunt or reproduce. Similarly, humans face dilemmas where instincts for immediate gratification conflict with long-term consequences, such as in consumer behavior. A person may resist purchasing an expensive item due to financial concerns, but ultimately yield to the desire for satisfaction, reflecting the complex interplay of instincts. At its extreme, pain, whether physical, emotional, or social, can dominate decision-making. The overwhelming power of pain has profound implications, sometimes leading individuals to drastic measures, including self-harm or suicide. The lives of humans, like those of some other animals, are about the choices they have to make. Timeliness, decision-making capacities, predictions, educated guesses, bluffing, and pretension are major parts of life. To put it simply, the physical build of the organism is insufficient for success in life. We have become more neurological. Bright is the new might. We should discuss the complexity of flight or fight decisions in animals. Flight is to get away from danger, while fighting is usually for dominance, or as a last resort, for survival or to keep resources. When they confront competitors of the same species, most animals must decide if it is beneficial to fight or run away. This type of confrontation is quite common in most species for mating rights and establishing social order in the group. Therefore, most individuals must decide or strategize whether to confront an adversary or avoid a confrontation. Brute force often determines dominance, especially in smaller groups. Might is right. Organisms living in larger groups, such as baboons, experience a higher probability of confrontation because there are more competitors and more mating opportunities. This makes life stressful for individuals. It would be wiser for some males to give up a few mating rights, but that could be seen as a sign of weakness, attracting more confrontations and eventually leading them to relinquish all mating rights. There are also social groups like those of chimps, where the interdependence of individuals within the group is very high, mostly because any individual chimp is a soft target for rival groups that could threaten their existence. In social structures like those of chimps, conflicting mental modules include the module for cooperation and the module for competition. There is an inherent desire for mating that requires each individual to compete. The cost of confrontations for mating rights and dominance is very high. The module for cooperation is more important for the collective existence of the group. Without the group, there are no individuals. The maintenance of the group is of paramount importance, demanding cooperation among members. How can one cooperate with a competitor? That is both ironic and paradoxical. Chimp groups are dynamic, with dominance, the prize trophy in the group, shifting from one individual to another with changing times and circumstances. This plays into the formation of recessive subgroups or alliances within the group. Those with larger and better alliances tend to be stronger. In a sense, the module for cooperation is part of the module for domination. But this equation only applies to the alpha, the leader. The alpha should have highly developed modules for domination and cooperation, along with physical fitness. No one can prevail as the leader of the troop if there is a deficiency in physical fitness, desire for dominance, or the module for cooperation. That adjustment is the birth of politics and intent, a way of overriding instinctual behavior with a purposeful insight that could eventually benefit the individual. Consciousness as a pinnacle of emergence of all sorts. I think consciousness is a complex subject. I have a limited understanding of it. Below, I share a few of my thoughts on the subject. Consciousness is the awareness of self and the surrounding environment, encompassing thoughts, emotions, and sensory experiences. It enables individuals to interpret their reality subjectively, make decisions, and reflect on their existence. This phenomenon integrates external stimuli with internal states, forming a dynamic interplay that shapes perceptions and actions. A fundamental aspect of consciousness is real-time self-awareness, which involves continuously monitoring thoughts, actions, and their consequences. This self-awareness resembles an abstract entity that observes itself, scrutinizing its behavior, choices, and existence. It is as if the mind operates both as the actor and the observer, maintaining an ongoing dialogue with itself. This recursive nature allows for adaptability, intentionality, and the refinement of behavior in response to the environment. By being aware of itself in real time, consciousness becomes a profound mechanism for self-regulation, enabling sentient beings to navigate their reality while remaining attuned to their own internal processes. Consciousness varies among individuals, shaped by their unique neural frameworks, available time for introspection, drive for reflection, self-evaluation, immediate priorities, long-term goals, contexts, and perceived realities. These factors collectively influence the depth and breadth of conscious awareness, resulting in distinct levels and orientations of consciousness. We all differ in the degree and direction of our consciousness. Differences in degrees of consciousness are evident in emotional awareness during conflict. For instance, one person might react impulsively in an argument driven by anger without considering the broader context, reflecting a lower degree of consciousness. Another may pause, assess their emotions, and view the situation empathetically, demonstrating greater self-awareness. Similarly, the direction of consciousness varies with life priorities. One individual may focus on accumulating wealth and status, directing their awareness toward material achievements, while another emphasizes personal growth and meaningful relationships, channeling their consciousness toward emotional and philosophical fulfillment. This variability highlights how consciousness is not a uniform phenomenon, but a dynamic interplay of cognitive and environmental influences, differing in degree and direction based on personal and situational factors. The one madness that makes life worthwhile lies in exploration, the exploration of mental and physical struggles and limitations, through the journey from uncertainty to certainty, impossible to possible, and painful to pleasurable.